I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
From Under the Median. Today, let's talk about conflict, specifically conflict when budgeting. You know, it's inevitable that as you begin to set a budget as a couple and life happens, that conflict is also going to happen. Mm-hmm. So we want to give you 4 different main strategies that we've learned over many, many years of budgeting as a couple that hopefully will help you when conflict occurs to sort of work through it and get to the other side.
That would be about 32 years.
32 years. That's right. We just had a 32nd anniversary. All right. So the first thing is you have to know, expect conflict. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever goes according to Hoyle. It just doesn't happen. There's a reason the old saying is the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray because life happens, right?
Well, the main reason why you can expect conflict is you have 2 independent people with independent thinking. So each of us have our own ideas of how things should be solved. Sometimes our ideas clash head on.
So it's a good idea to start out with acknowledging conflict is going to happen. Mm-hmm. It will happen. But the next thing to do under here, this is to also resolve ahead of time that you're going to find a way to work it out. It's not just acknowledging, yes, it's going to happen. It's resolving ahead of time, it's going to happen, and we're going to work through it.
It's making a commitment that you're going to resolve whatever differences you have to come to a common solution.
The next step is to set ground rules.
Yes, that's very important.
So no one walks away from the table permanently. It's okay there have been a time or two that we've said, you know what, I just really got to have some more time to think about this.
Oh, yeah.
And walked away, that's a perfectly legitimate way to handle conflict as long as your partner knows you're not walking away in anger and you're not walking away permanently, you're coming back to the table.
Oh, yeah.
It's just sort of more of sometimes we have to do more one-on-one brainstorming, you know. Sometimes we propose an idea or a thought or couldn't we do X, Y, Z, and you haven't really thought through all the ramifications. So sometimes as you sort of enter into this process of figuring out if it can fit in the budget at all, that you just realize, yeah, I got to really think this through a little more clearly before I propose it.
You know, Hope, it brings up an example that I just came to my mind where I did walk away during conflict.
I don't remember this.
Oh, yes, you will, as soon as I mention what it was.
Awesome.
We had not been married a year. In fact, we've been married about maybe 5 months. Mm-hmm. And we had found a rental house. We couldn't afford the apartment that we were at. Hope wanted the house, and I didn't think it would suit our needs, but the price was right. And I walked away. We got into a little disagreement about it, and I walked down to the house. It happened to be just a couple of blocks where we were living. And I prayed about it. And I felt that Hope was right about the decision. I felt God impressing that upon me, that she was right. So I came back into the apartment probably no more than 20 minutes later, and I looked at her, I pointed my finger at her, and I said, I got one thing to say to you. You're right. And we resolved the conflict, and we rented the house for 4 years. It was a real blessing to us.
As I recall, that actually was our first major conflict, and that was when we set that ground rule that no one walks away from the table permanently. I actually do remember that now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that was where that sort of ground rule came from for us, was this whole concept of it's okay to walk away, but you got to say, I need a little time to think about this, and then you always walk back to the table.
That's right.
So you have to remember that you're a team. You're not autonomous anymore. You work within the framework of a team. So, I mean, just imagine for me what would happen if the Red Sox showed up for a ball game and each player decided, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to do my own thing on the field. How well would that go?
I think it would be pretty chaotic.
Yeah, it would not do very well. And so it works that way in a marriage too. And it works that way in all aspects of a marriage, specifically budgeting. And you're working together as a team. You do not make independent decisions any longer. You are working together. Mm-hmm. Okay, the third strategy that we'd like to bring before you is to communicate clearly and calmly. And sometimes this is really hard.
It is hard because when you're talking about money, it does generate emotions. And emotions can sometimes override rational decisions.
One of the things that we implemented in our relationship when it comes to budgeting is actually something that we taught our children years and years and years ago. And that was the whole idea of looking at the person who's talking to you and mirroring back what they have just said before you respond. So it would be, let's say he came to me and said, I want to take a trip to Colorado, and sort of laid out for me, this is why I want to take a trip to Colorado. Before I even respond, I would say, here's what I have heard you say. You really miss the mountains, and it's important to you to spend some time with the boys before they're all gone from our house, and you would like to figure out how to fit this into our budget in the next 24 months. So he's knowing I have heard what he said. Because if I've not heard what he said, or if I've misheard it because what he's saying is really torquing me off, then you can't really move forward until the first person knows they've been heard and understood. Then you move forward to what you want to say back to whatever the request is.
It's always good to know that what you have communicated has been received correctly.
Right, because this is not a time for blame and shame.
No.
It's a really bad idea in a budget meeting of any kind to point your finger and say, well, you always want to do this, or every time this happens, or, just making flippant statements just for the sake of sort of making your point and making it in a grandiose fashion. It is not a time for that. It's a time for really being able to listen and compromise.
Yeah, you want to avoid generalized phrases like that, especially if they're accusatory. That doesn't really benefit the discussion.
Right. So the fourth and final strategy is to always refer to the written budget and your written list of goals. We have said this over and over again that you have to have a written budget. You need to live on said budget, and you need to have a written list of goals, because if you're not aiming at anything,
you're not going to hit it.
You're not going to hit it.
Well,
so
it's the same way if you're traveling somewhere. You usually use a road map, or maybe you use Google Maps or a GPS system or a navigation system. But within that system, you have to set the destination. Once you set the destination, then you can make plans on how to get there. So once you have the goals in mind financially, you can set into place everything you need to do to juggle things around to meet those goals.
A budget keeps you from making crazy decisions based on how you're feeling at the time.
Or impetuous decisions.
So that's what the budget is for. Mm-hmm. There's always one person who handles the budget, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
There's always a nerd in any dynamic duo. There's one person who says, I got this. I'm the numbers cruncher. So that's my responsibility. So if you're the numbers cruncher in your relationship, then Larry defers to me and says, I know you have a really good handle on what the numbers are. Could you run them and get back with me? And that's not saying that he doesn't have a say in how things are spent. That's saying that he understands that I'm the one who handles them on a daily basis. So I know how to tell in about 20 minutes whether the money is there or whether it's not.
I use hope as the filter to run everything through. When I was getting married, looking for a wife, I prayed for someone that could handle money, because I knew I couldn't. I wasn't in bad shape. It just kind of went through my fingers. So I always found important things to buy, not important ways to save. So Hope is just really good at this. This is her area that she excels. So recognizing that, I just give that over to her. And then I just run everything through her, and we discuss things. And she understands, things that I need or things that are important, maybe to what I would like to see us spend money on. But at the same time, she knows how to keep the budget locked down and working. So it's good to have somebody that's more or less in charge of the budget. Usually there's one in the couple that's better at this.
And that's not a male or female thing.
No.
That's whoever is best at it.
Yep, that's right.
You need to pick that person to be in charge of keeping the actual numbers and knowing where you're going and how close you are to goals. So yeah, when he complains, I say, do not do not complain because you prayed for me and you got exactly what you prayed for. So this is it.
I'm not disappointed at all.
So, and the last point we'd like to make is don't be afraid to change goals. Sometimes life changes our goals. It's important to have them, but sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? We're going to slow down on this goal in order to fund this goal because as a couple and as a family, this new goal, okay, it's important to us, and we know we can meet that goal within 24 months or 36 months. And so we're going to defer some money from this account and put it in this other account, this new account, in order to meet that goal. And that is okay to do. Goals aren't set in stone, just like life is not set in stone. You should always have them. You should always be moving toward them and know where you're at in that trajectory. But it is okay to give yourself permission to say, all right, this has happened and we're going to slow down, or we're going to change the goals or change the date that we think we're going to meet the goal, and that is an okay thing. So we hope that you have found these 4 strategies helpful to you. If you have comments, be sure to leave them, like this video, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do want to mention that we have a great budgeting tool that is available in our shop, and it is a personal finance planner. We walk you step by step how to make a budget, pay off debt, set goals, and it's everything that you need bundled all into one product. So there will be a link for that down below, and also a link to our website. So thanks for joining us.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.